Chess friends, I hope you are doing well. Today, I am going to show you a brilliant and masterful game that I played against the Redfish AI. As you know, Redfish is the strongest chess engine that has defeated me many times, but this game is completely different because I was using the new Stockfish version 17, and I defeated it very smoothly. I will share the chess tactics I employed in the game, so, let's get started without wasting any time. I started the game with d4, and we have knight to f6, rather than playing c4 and prompting black to consider e6, followed by knight to c3 and bishop to b4, delving into the Nmso Indian defense where black can play d5, castle and all the other things I illustrated in my recent video on another channel, Nmso Indian chess opening traps and tricks. He played another opening. Also, you can watch that video after this one. I will put the link in the description. Here, I didn't play c4, instead, I played knight to f3, a couple of moves later, we have bishop to g7, of course, he wants to play the modern variation because he is a modern chess engine that was recently published, but it becomes quite evident that after knight to c3, we have d5 on the board, opening up the bishop's diagonal. After the queen moves and all the exchanges occur, we have c6 to prevent any sort of knight entry point for the c3 knight. Therefore, I played e4, gaining access to more center squares. And the knight moves back to open up the bishop's diagonal. This is foolish, moving back the knight, which is already a developed piece. A couple of moves later, the knight showed its grace, and after queen to d3, bishop to g4, followed by a4, happened in the game. I wanted to play a5, which is why he played a5 himself. After the bishop and knight exchanges, you can see that after bishop takes f3, playing bishop takes f3 is not good for me now because black can play a very strong move here, employing a chess tactic. Noticing my queen on d3 is an unsupported piece, black can play knight to e5, attacking my two pieces. This position will be very difficult because after queen to e2 and all the exchanges, the pawn on d4 will be vulnerable. Even if you consider rook to d1 to attack the bishop, it doesn't matter because black can play e5 and you will lose a center pawn. Going back to the position, we see that playing bishop takes f3 is a very bad choice. Therefore, I captured the bishop with my g-pawn. After e6, we have a long castle. Of course, you might think that f4, h4 followed by h5, does not create any sort of attack on the king side because these pawns are weak. I won't push forward these pawns early in the game, and black tries to attack me on the queen side immediately because my queen side is also vulnerable. A couple of moves later, it becomes evident that I want to consider f5 because your king is in the house, eating popcorn and watching movies or chess videos. As the knight moves back, we have some piece exchanges, and king to b1 follows. The knight goes to f6, followed by knight to g4. After some piece exchanges, I play e5. This creates a crystal clear, stone-like pawn structure where all my pawns are located on the dark squares. After I play e4, it becomes evident that I want to consider f5 to break open your structure and your ego, just as Bobby Fischer used to do to his opponents. My queen is also there to help break the construction you've built. After the rook moves to f1, we have some more piece exchanges, and a few moves later, the knight moves back to h6, followed by bishop to d3, creating a sort of powerhouse where I can consider f5, which is marvelous because it opens up the rook file. All my pieces are attacking by breaking your weak pawn structure. After the rook moves, my queen goes back to c1, and your king is forced to run and hide to avoid exposure. When the rook moves to g5, my queen, along with the rook, creates a vulnerable position for your king side. For example, if you play a normal move, like b6, I will consider d5. After you capture, I capture the pawn on g6. Black cannot capture the pawn with the rook because after he takes on d5, the bishop's diagonal will be wide open. Therefore, he has to capture the pawn with the pawn. After I capture the d5 pawn and recapture, I will capture the pawn on h5. This is called pawn structure and pawn techniques that you need to learn to trap your opponent and make them vulnerable. This is why grandmasters are always eager and courageous to exchange pawns. They do not complicate the situation by keeping too many pawns on the board because they might become zombies like in this position. My rook and queen are attacking the knight, and your pawn on g6 is pinned by the bishop. Even if you play queen to g7 to protect the knight, it doesn't matter because I will play a very strong move, rook to f7, what an incredible move. I am attacking the knight on h6, and the game will be over. So, let me provide you an inspirational life quote for you. To be kind is more important than to be right. Many times, what people need is not a brilliant mind that speaks, but a special heart that listens. Going back to the original position, we discovered that any normal move is a bad choice. That's why playing d5 to open up the light-squared bishop is crucial to attacking the black king side, where my rook and queen are jointly attacking your forces. A couple of moves later, we have queen to f4. At this point, you might think of capturing the pawn on f5 with one of your pawns, but doing so would be a bad choice. After e takes f5, capturing the pawn on f5 would be bad because rook takes f5 attacks the knight on h6, the game will be over. There's also an additional tactic where I can play bishop takes f5, attacking your queen and king simultaneously. After the rook moves, I can play e6, and after a pawn exchange, I will play rook takes h5, putting you in a precarious situation. Even if you capture the rook on h5, I will capture the pawn on e6, checking the king and simultaneously attacking your queen, ending the game. Losing your queen to a pawn, an inferior piece attacking a superior piece, is just shameful. So, going back to the original position, we discovered that capturing the pawn on f5 is a very bad choice. That's why we see bishop to e7. At this point, noticing my rook is under attack, many players might consider f6, but that's a very bad choice. That's the reason why I considered d5, attacking the pawn or threatening to push it forward. Therefore, he accepted my rook sacrifice because if I offer you a rook, why wouldn't you capture it? Now, your knight is under attack, and of course, a 60 IQ player might think of playing knight to g4, but that's a very bad move because, after the exchanges, I can play knight to c5, attacking your queen. After knight takes e6, the g7 square will be controlled by the knight, and your king won't be able to go there. Additionally, I am threatening to capture the knight on g4. After you capture, queen to h2 will lead to a checkmate. Believe me or not, the game will be over. Therefore, even if you dare to capture the pawn on f5, I will recapture. The three connected passed pawns will create a vulnerable situation for you because I can play f6, opening up my bishop's diagonal. The game will be over. So, going back to the reason why I discovered that playing knight to g4 is a very bad choice, that's why after capture and recapture, we see a d4 bishop here. After the exchanges, we have knight takes d4, a few moves later, you can see that we did a queen exchange, and knight takes e6 is also possible. f7 is coming as well. After a couple more moves, you can see that we have bishop to e8, with the idea of promoting to a new queen. I will be very happy to get a new girlfriend after losing the previous one. I'm going to promote to a new queen, or what you might call a girlfriend. That doesn't matter because, in chess, she is your queen, girlfriend or lover, all are possible. After a couple more moves, you can see that I'm just winning the game. Black has nothing left to do, and I ended up with a queen and a knight, checkmating Redfish. He became even more red with his anger. I hope you enjoyed the game very much. If so, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye, take care and see you soon.